respect all of your guys' time and Jimmy's time, our guest trainer today for RPR. Welcome to another Rock University training. Please, please, please remember to write us in your contract, your next deal. We have a listing advantage where we can give you 50% off the escrow fee, and you can throw that into your listing, and that we honor that for both the seller and buyer. So again, when you're going into your listing presentation, right, include that. Reach out to your sales executive, include that in there, because that's just another added value of why they should work with you over their competition. Save your client money. It's a nice perk for the whoever's going to buy it as well, because we do offer that to them. So reach out to your sales executive or your escrow officers for that information. Please write us into your next deal. And today we are talking about RPR, that awesome tool that we get through NAR. There's a lot of great ways that you can leverage it, strategies, different tools in there. So we have Jimmy Garcia on, who is an instructor in Arizona for Tech for Real Estate. And they do tons of different CE classes and trainings. There he is. And I do know that we have obviously Vegas on here as well, Nevada and Arizona agents, but obviously this is an NAR benefit, so it can work for all of us. So excited to jump in. I don't want to take any more time. Jimmy, it is all yours.
Awesome. Much appreciated. All right. Yeah, guys, we're going to be talking about RPR today. And, with basically, let's call it 55 minutes of time left, you're not going to learn everything there is to learn. A lot of the learning is going to be done primarily with you trying. So we're going to get a general overview. We're going to look at some of the cool aspects to building CMAs. And in the world, kind of post-COVID here, it is not uncommon for you to do some more screen shares with clients, kind of like a Zoom. And I found RPR to be extremely helpful in giving, your potential clients or prospective clients a high-level overview of what's going on in an area, especially if you're dealing with, people who are moving from a different state and they're not familiar. It's nice before you meet them in person, get a Zoom call scheduled, share your screen, walk them through some RPR stuff. There's a lot of cool tools here. All right. So let's just go ahead and dive in. And how's the audio, by the way? Give me a thumbs up, Justin, if you can hear me. Okay, clear, perfect. Okay. Yeah, I'm in kind of like a closet box. I'm also traveling myself. I'm physically in Richmond, Virginia right now. So yeah, just in this tight little box here, but I think we're going to make it work. All right. Let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to share a screen here, get RPR up. I'm sure all of you are familiar how to access it, but just from the top, one more time, you're going to go to NARRPR.com. All right. NARRPR.com. That's where you're going to go and log in. It's going to require your NRDS number, which you get from NAR's website directly, and it's going to bring you into the thing. Now, let's talk about a couple of issues that I have with it. If you're licensed in multiple states, like I'm licensed in multiple states, you still use the same RPR, right? There's not a specific Arizona RPR or Nevada RPR or Texas RPR. It's one RPR, and you have to select which MLS or association you want to have as the primary one. Okay, so a couple of housekeeping items with RPR. Once you create your account, you want to go to the top right corner and go to Profile. Okay, go to Profile. This is where you want to go ahead and add the MLSs that you want to have access to. Okay, so if you have multiple MLSs, you're going to choose which one you want to have as your primary MLS. Same thing with any of your license numbers here. So that way you can get the data. Now, RPR is the entire United States. They're pulling up all of the data from the different MLSs and associations. So you're going to get access really anywhere. The difference, of course, is if you're not an MLS member, you're not going to get any of that private information, right? So, private remarks, commissions, things like that, co-brokes or anything that's disclosed. Well, most co-brokes are public now. But any of the private remarks, you're not going to get access to unless you put in your MLS information there, okay? So again, once you log on, I'm not going to spend too much time on the screen because it's pretty, self-evident. You kind of walk your way through it. But your headshot, your logo, your contact information, make sure that's updated and accurate, because any of the reports that you generate are going to by default put all of this data on there. So you want to make sure that it is adequately or accurately showing your information there. And depending on what your state laws are, it is required to have your brokerage on any piece of advertising or marketing. Another thing is you could have assistant users up there. You could create 3 assistants, which is nice because let's say you're out in the field and you have a transaction coordinator, and you'd like them to generate a more in-depth report for you, or start building a CMA, or at least a framework of the CMA under your accounts, right? Instead of having, giving you or giving them your password and your username, you will create your own username and your own password for them, and it's going to be all under one umbrella account, and it's 3 assistant users up inside of the settings. Okay, so again, you'll be able to see that there. All right, so one more time at the top, how do I get there? From the top right corner, going to my profile, click on profile, and you're going to be in, right? So that's one thing. I wish you could have all the MLSs in one go, but that's kind of the default. It's you have to select which one you want to have as your main one. As far as settings themselves, really, you could just stick with a generic. Notice on my home screen, I have a default kind of markets selected with my markets. If you want to have that set up where you just every time you show up to RPR, it's going to show you the data to the places that you are more curious about. You're going to do that in your settings as well. So go to the top right corner, click on settings, and here you could type in your individual markets, right? Your cities, your zip codes. You could do neighborhoods depending on how extensive or expansive the neighborhood is. You'll be able to see that right here. Okay, so that's all kind of the housekeeping stuff. All right, let's dive into more of the meat and potatoes. One of the first things we're going to do is spend some time on this map, okay, this map dashboard. A lot of people jump right into the reporting aspect, which is great, and how to create searches, but I really like the map. All right, so let's go ahead and expand the map. I'm going to click on map search here. Let's go ahead and remove the boundary. And then I'm going to bring this full screen. So bear with me because we're going to lose the screen for just a second. And then we'll get it back here. We go to full screen. All right, here we go. So now we're in a full screen map. And I could create any kind of search as you normally would through your MLS. But what I really like to do with a map is start to give an idea or a sense of different things that your client may be interested in and what they're looking for. For example, let's say a client is moving from, another part of the state or from out of state, and they're not quite familiar, but they do know of a specific school that they want to base their search around. Okay. Well, on the right-hand side are all these different items you can select. And then you have right up in the top left, these geographies. Okay, these geographies. So I could select, let's say, for example, a high school. I'm going to go through 9th through 12th grade. Click on this high school. And now RPR is going to update and show me the parameters that feed into whatever specific high school I'm considering. So let's say I want this one. Okay. This is Chandler High School. Now I could export and give a general report on all of the listings or information in the Chandler High School area, what feeds into Chandler High School. And then that's pretty nice. I like to be able to do that, and it brings a map so they get a frame of reference. Again, being able to show clients, kind of a high level overview of what's happening in an area. It's definitely helpful here. Okay, so again, go to the top left-hand corner with the geographies, and you can click on this drop-down menu and select. You can also do it by school district itself, but those can be pretty large, right? High schools, junior high schools, and elementary schools. We can select them and see which ones they feed in. Another interesting geography you're able to sort by is opportunity zones, right? Depending on the down payment assistance programs that are out there, typically, and check with your local lender, there is an extra percentage or incentive if the property is located within a designated opportunity zone, which the federal government deemed as an opportunity zone. All right. So if you're dealing with, let's say, a first-time home buyer, or dealing with a prospective buyer who is, using a grant or down payment assistance, they may be interested in specifically looking in areas that are considered opportunity zones. So I'm going to click on opportunity zones, and we're going to zoom out a bit. And it's going to show us where the opportunity zones in this area. Okay, so those of you familiar with the Southeast Valley of Phoenix, right? We have the Far East Valley here in Mesa. We have even parts of Gilbert, right? Central Mesa, parts of Tempe, North Tempe, bleeding into some of the South Scottsdale area, even parts of Old Town Scottsdale, right? So again, there are a lot of opportunity zones or designated opportunity zones. So for down payment assistance program buyers, again, it's more advantageous for them to be able to look at properties within these opportunity zones. Again, all of that is done in the geography section inside of the map, which I highly recommend you do. If you want to get some specifics as well, let's go back to our geographies. You can look at and sort via macro neighborhoods or zip codes. If I wanted to look at, more micro neighborhoods, now, depending on where you are, we're talking like really micro. Again, I mean, take a look at this. And that's some fine detail. Where this could come into play, though, is not necessarily if you're doing a live video with a client, but if you wanted to farm a specific area, okay? Let's say I wanted to farm this neighborhood, St. Vincent, right here off of Warner. Since I selected micro neighborhoods here, I now have the ability to click on any of them individually. Once I click on it itself, I could go ahead and take a look at market trends. I could create a market activity report. I could save the area or search in this area. Now, I didn't have anything search parameters on, but if I wanted to look at just tax records or data, I could put that as one of my layers as well. And what's nice is that RPR allows you, let's minimize this real quick. If I want to put in some specifics, let's say I wanted to say public records, okay? And we're going to take a look at here from going back to, I don't know, 12 months. Oops, just paid attention. The chat just popped up. Can multiple micro neighborhoods be selected? They can. And you create individual reports for them, but it's not going to be one encompassing reports. And then I do see a hand up, Armand. Let's go ahead and
Yeah,
get you.
Jimmy, what about the foreclosures? Is there some place that we can see the list or the foreclosures as well in this?
So as far as a public record standpoint, yes, but you're not going to see what was really powerful is doing the pre-foreclosures list. And I will show you when you get to create some of the market reports, how to see some of that information.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. All right, let's get back to our screen here. Okay. Let's remove boundary. Just going to do some random properties sold in the past 12 months. One of the options is creating mailing labels based on any of the results that I have. So it could get you into the first step of farming. Now, for free, we only have 2,000 exports. So again, this is just kind of putting your toes in the water here if you're interested in getting into this kind of farming and mailers for some of these labels here. And I could designate it if it's going to be the owner occupied or an absentee owner. Now you could upgrade. RPR has partnered with Black Knight, and that Black Knight is the service that you could find some of those pre-market foreclosures as well. I know some title companies have access to Black Knight. I'm sure you guys. Justin Sager said yes, yeah, they have access to Black Knight. Black Knight is pretty extensive.
Certainly.
Yeah, report. So that's another reason to reach out to Justin or any of your reps there for some of that data and access. But for free, you do get 2,000 exports if you wanted to try and start to slowly farm a specific area, right? There's a whole class on smart farming and tactics for smart farming. And it doesn't matter how smart it gets, it's still slow and tedious. But then leveraging technology, you could really start to increase your reach in a specific area. So this is a good way to start getting some information inside of a neighborhood. All right, so let's go back to my map search here. Maximize the screen. Let's zoom out because it brought me all the way to my physical location, which it knows I'm in Richmond, and all the way back to Phoenix. There you go. All right. Now, again, I don't know how many of you are from the Valley or in the Valley. It's funny when you talk to somebody who is coming from outside of the state, right? There's a lot of national-based concepts or stereotypes that we hear about certain areas, right? Phoenix is hot or this and that, and which is true. Not lying, Phoenix is hot. But another thing that I've commonly heard is flooding, flash flooding. You have to be careful in the desert because they're going to be flash flooding. So you get people who are maybe fearful of buying a property in the desert because of that option. Well, it's nice because one of the data layers you have on the right-hand side is FEMA's flood zones. Okay, so I can apply the flood zone. It's going to give me kind of an accurate heat map here to say, okay, what are the risks? Now, obviously, if we're getting close to the Salt River, some of the canal paths, we can see if there's a greater risk versus low risk. And we're looking at the Southeast Valley specifically here. Okay, so again, all those are part of the data layers. So I encourage you to use this for a myriad of purposes. One is finding your own farming tools. Two is to be able to give a high level overview to a prospective buyer or even seller of what's happening in an area. Another thing that's nice to use, let me turn off this data layer here, is points of interest. So if you want to show someone, well, let's take a look at how many, parks, maybe libraries and grocery stores are in a specific area. Okay, so if I zoom in, now it's going to start showing me where they are. And if I click on them, they'll tell me exactly what they are as well. So again, I use this quite often doing these Zoom type of calls with a prospective buyer saying, okay, you're considering this area. Here's what life would look like more or less if the walkability of parks, the walkability of stores, and things like that. Okay. Another important one to a lot of consumers is driving. You may have somebody who's like, I want to be 20 minutes away from my job. Okay, well, where is your job located? So again, let's take off these points of interest. The driving tool, I could do a couple of things. I could do distance. Okay. I could do traffic counts. So let's say somebody is concerned with, how much traffic is going through this main vein with Warner here. We get an accurate idea of how much traffic is actually going through if they're backed up to one of these properties, let's say. But the one that I like to use more often is travel time. Okay. Now I kind of reverse engineer it. So I'm going to hit travel time. And let's say the client works, I don't know, their prospective buyer works in, downtown Tempe. Those who are familiar with the area. I'm going to click on the map, drop the pin, let's say right over here. Great. Now I want to know how far can I get, let's say on Monday, within 20 minutes or 15 minutes at 8 a.m. Okay, and hit next. And I could also do the reverse. Let's say I'm looking for a house that's over, on this side of Mesa. How far can I get in 15 minutes or 20 minutes, right? So it uses Google's map information and data to feed this in. But again, it's a pretty cool resource because we all know different times, different days are not created equal. If you have a client who says, my commute be less than 30 minutes, well, when is your commute? Your commute's going to be a lot different at 8 a.m. versus if you're going at 6 o'clock at night, right? Or 7 o'clock at night. So be able to show them that and realistically give them that impression and idea of like, okay, here is how far you can get within this time frame, at least per Google, driving for their commutes. Again, we do the exact same thing on the reverse. If you know the address of the listing or the area they're looking at, you can see how far the distance is of where they need to go. That is all inside of the driving tab. You also have the ability to draw your own custom area instead of doing micro or macro neighborhoods. If I wanted to draw and just kind of freehand and say, I want to look at this specific little sliver for whatever reason and do entire market reports just for this sliver, right? You go ahead and do that. So I encourage you, I said this in the beginning of the class, a lot of the learning is going to be done by doing. So if you want to truly master RPR, one of the best things I recommend is start to practice with it. Build a market report for your specific neighborhood, run a CMA on your house, and you'll stumble your way through, but you'll be able to start to pick up on some of these things. Another thing I want to tell you as far as learning RPR is that they do have a very extensive and thorough help section and learn section. So when I go to learn, they have so many videos, okay? So many videos that will go through all the different types of things you want to have. So I'm going to click on this. Let's leave RPR. And they have webinar after webinar. If I want to look at CMAs specifically, if I want to look at farming, if I want to look at mailing labels, prospecting, how to use the mobile app. Again, I even tell you, if I only have 10 to 30 minutes, under 10 minutes. If I'm an advanced or beginner intermediate, there's a lot of investment in RPR. They spend a lot of money on RPR, spend a lot of money maintaining RPR. So they have a very extensive learning system. So you can always take a deep dive into any of these things as well. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back home real quick. Download the mobile app. So right there, when you click on RPR mobile, you could scan the QR code, and you can actually probably scan the QR code right now from your phone in the screen. Actually, I want to try that out of curiosity. If it brings me to the RPR mobile app. Yeah, look at that, it does. So download the mobile app. The reason why I love the mobile app is because you are able to pull reports and kind of pick up exactly where you left off based on what you've been doing online. And that really comes in handy when you're out with the prospective buyer, or maybe on your way to your listing presentation, and you see there's another comp that you want to pull and maybe adjust for, right? Well, I could pull out my phone and go ahead and make that adjustment right now. So speaking of comps, let's go ahead and run an analysis on a property here. I'll do a property that I know. I'm going to manually type. Okay. All right. So you have an RVM. Now, RVM is RPR's AVM, automated valuation system, just like a Zestimate or your Redfin or Realtor.com's kind of AVM. But RVM is again RPR's Realtor version, and they say it's more accurate because it feeds directly from the MLS and takes in consideration, unique things to the property. Now, you have to be the one to essentially customize it from here, but it's telling you 520 and its confidence score based on how much data it is pulling from that area, how many comps, how many properties that are also similar, 3-bed, how many square feet. I've had four 3-bath, 4 beds. Okay. Just to get a general sense. So for building CMAs or home equity reports, I don't know how many of you are, Buffiniites or Tom or Mike Ferry followers, but both, all of the guru real estate coaches are saying this is the year to really double down on listings. And one of the ways to shake out listings is by offering home equity reports. And Mike Ferry, not too long ago, released this fantastic email that he recommended you send out to your entire database, which essentially says, hey, I was running some numbers for some of my clients who are thinking about selling their house. I wanted to know if you'd be interested in running some numbers on yours as well, just to see the equity growth. And I take that a step further and just go ahead and run the numbers for them, and you can kind of create a video with a home equity report or at least some form of a CMA to kind of tease them into a dialed in focus, show them what the RVM is, and show them there's a range. In fact, what I typically encourage to do, some of the clients that I coach, the agents that I coach, I said, take them to Zillow, because what do you think most people are also looking at when it goes to the value of their home? They're going to Zillow, right? They want to see what Zillow is saying. Even though we have a love-hate relationship with Zillow, there we go. Zillow is saying 520. Let's take a look at what Redfin is saying. So I go to Redfin, I go to Zillow, and then I go to Bank of America, and then I show them and have be shown all of the ranges. Okay. And here, offer estimate from even Open Door in the range 461 to 520. We got Zillow at 520. We have RPR sitting right about 520, 200. Okay. So that is a quick, easy video or email or even text you could send of a range of a price. Then to tell your client, if you want to know specifically a more accurate number, let's fine tune it. Let's get on the phone call and discuss from there. All right. So as far as actually doing the fine tuning, there's a couple of ways we could do that. We could do that with what's called refined value. Refined value is going to take into account any of the improvements that you've done or any of the necessity improvements that need to be done. So let me delete all of these because these were just examples from previous times. Okay. All right. Refine the value by home improvements. You and I both know there are some clients who are like, I put in $50,000 into this kitchen and my house should be worth a lot more. And you're like, that's not really how it works. Especially when you find out they put $50,000 in their kitchen 15 years ago. It's like, right, you're not going to get as much value as you think you are. What's nice is that RPR kind of has that built-in algorithm to help figure that out for you. So let's say home improvements. They did let's say an upscale remodel, okay? Major kitchen remodel upscale. And let's say it was, I don't know, we'll go back to 2010 and they put in $50,000. When I click on add improvement, and it's telling you what we're talking for an upscale, right? 200 square foot kitchen with 30 linear foot top of the line custom white cabinets, built-in sliding shelves. I mean, it's giving you an example of when you mean upscale, what do you mean by that, right? All right, I'm going to click add improvement. Notice the value that it's actually giving, right? $13,000. Nowhere close to that $50,000. Same thing with pools, right? We know that people put, well, my house has a $75,000 pool. Shouldn't my house be worth $75,000 more? No, of course not. Right? How much value are you actually getting out of that? So doing the refined value by home improvements helps set the expectations, especially with sellers, on what value there may be. And the other thing you have to remember is this is also in consideration of what have other properties that have sold in the area have done. Has everybody else updated your kitchen? Well, it's not going to be weighted as much. Are you the only comp in the past 6 months that have updated their kitchen? Then it's going to be weighted a little bit more, of course, right? So all things being equal, and you have to look into those stats and find those things out, but at least you give them some type of frame of reference. Now, you could also do based on need improvement. So noted out of the $50,000 and only gave $13,000 in credit. Now I can talk about need improvement. So let's say, it needs a roof replacement, full roof replacement. I'm going to manually type that, full roof replacement. Now it's going to hit it for the entire cost. Let's say that's 25,000. I'm going to hit add improvement. It's going to deduct the full 25,000 because that's an actual cost that has to happen in order to get it done, right? So it's going to hit him with the full improvement that is needed. The other thing you can start to do is based on market conditions. So let's say we are in an extreme seller's market. Now, technically, those of you who are at least in the Valley or in Phoenix, we're still in a seller's market. Things are starting to slow down, but we are still technically in a seller's market. Anything under 3 months worth of inventory is still considered a seller's market. Now, we're not like 10 days worth of inventory like we were in summer 2021, but we are still in the seller's market. But how extreme is that seller's market, right? Are things super hot? Notice what it's going to do to the value. Extremely competitive, right? Let me put everything else at equal, and we could just take a look at as we slide the scales, we're getting value change from market and home conditions. So now we went from 520 to the refined changes. Our refined estimate is about 537. Okay. Now, again, this is going to require your knowledge of that local market, which is why before you do refined value based on market conditions, what kind of report should you generate? A market report. Take a look at what is happening in this specific neighborhood as far as the trends, the days on market, the inventory, the list versus sale price ratio. Are things closing at 94%? Sold to original list price ratio, or are they closing at 105%, meaning that they're closing 5% above what they're listed at. Now, again, in an extreme seller's market, think of your listings that you had last summer or the summer before that. Was it weird to have 10 offers? No, of course not. You had 10 offers the second you went live on the market because of the market conditions, right? But not so much. Maybe you're not getting 10 offers in the first week. So is it just average? What about the exterior conditions? Out of all the other houses in the neighborhood, is your client the only one who has done extensive work to maintain and upgrade the exterior conditions? So is it far superior? Or are they the ones in the neighborhood that have never repainted, never added a new roof, never taken care of their landscaping, and just looks horrible? Are they inferior, right? So we go ahead and make that a sliding scale, or are things more or less equal? Same thing with the interior, lot size, and notice it's reminding you relative to comparable properties. If you're like, yeah, my client's listing's on an acre lot, but so are the comps, it's not really going to change anything, right? If you're the only acre lot in the entire neighborhood and everybody else is on only a quarter acre, then you are far superior, of course, right? So we make those adjustments based on the relation to the comparable properties themselves, views when that's applicable, right? Some neighborhoods have views of nothing. Some look at great vistas and valleys and things. If views comparable, you do that. And then privacy, right? If that's going to be a factor that's going to affect in relation to the comps. All right. So these are all sliding scale things where you're able to do a refined value from the RVM estimate. Okay. So that's the second way to give your clients or prospective clients a idea or a sense of where the value may be, or even a buyer. You could tell a buyer, hey, based on what's going on here, here's what I'm thinking this property may more or less go for. All right, let's talk about next more of the full-fledged CMA. There are two different types of quote unquote CMAs you are able to build here. You have the comparative analysis, which 98% of the time is what you're going to use. As a residential agent, you're going to use comparative analysis. If you ever need to fight an appraiser, then learn how to do the sales comparison analysis. Now, notice sales comparison analysis is even encouraged to be used by appraisers. You could use this as a foundation of your 1004 uniform residential appraisals. All right. So it is a very extensive, tedious thing to build one. That's why most agents we're only building these and only really need to build these in the off chance that you have to fight an appraiser with some raw data. Now, I want to play this short little video. It says, what's the difference? To give a quick explanation on what the difference between these things are. So let's take a look at this real quick.
The sales comparison analysis feature is a simple but powerful way to evaluate a property using area sales information as well as competitive listings and produce a detailed record of your work that can be saved or printed. This feature models the kind of in-depth evaluation that is performed in an appraisal. The sales comparison analysis goes into more detail about the subject property and comps in the RPR comp analysis feature, which models the CMA. The sales comparison feature has been designed with input from realtor appraisers, but any RPR user can access it. Many agents will find this feature useful for creating a CMA, BPO, or other valuation analysis. In the sales comparison analysis, a user is led through a series of steps to confirm or adjust the factual information about a subject property, and then to search for and select comps. After adjusting and weighting the comps, the user receives a sales comparison analysis result that summarizes the valuation and range for the subject property. The user can also generate an optional valuation workbook, which creates a rich archive of the facts and trends that support the analysis. The key difference between the sales comparison analysis and comp analysis features is the extent to which the subject property information and comps information can be reviewed and adjusted by the user. Sales comparison analysis is geared for valuations professionals who want to methodically review and adjust a great many details about a property and comps and save their work in workbook format for supporting their valuation and for future reference. Comp analysis is intended to help agents in pricing discussions with clients and in generating price ranges that are both quantitative, based on comps and market information, as well as qualitative, reflecting the user's knowledge of the property, the seller's motivation, the neighborhood, and the market.
Okay, that gives you kind of an idea of the difference between the two. So let's start with the base comparative analysis. The first thing they're both going to require you to do is confirm the home facts, right? So if I need to change any of the home facts, the last time I used as an example, we said there are 3 bedrooms in this property. Whatever reason, public record didn't know that. If, there was a pool that was added and public record didn't know, right? You want to confirm the facts first. All right, once you're done confirming the facts, it's then going to bring you down to go ahead and start searching for the actual comparable properties. So let's wait for this to close. All right, let's take a look. Now, by default, it's always going to give you these pre-settings. Last 3 months, it knows the property single family, so it's going to assume that's also what you want to look for. Active for sale, pending, active under contract, close. Those are the default statuses and property types it's going to do based on what property you're looking at. If you would like, if you know of a property, you could put in the address or the MLS ID number as well. So let's say you knew one sold for 3 weeks ago and you have the MLS ID number off the top of your head, you go ahead and manually put that in there now. More often than not, you're going to be searching for the map here. Okay, so it knows where we're located, where listing is. Let's go ahead and leave it on 3 months. Again, it's taking a baseline of beds and baths. This is the minimum range. So I'm going to hit search. And now it's going to show us kind of everything that's populating here. All right. Now, this blue square is recently closed. The black ones are what I've already selected from previous time of doing these examples, but it's going to show me the recently closed ones. Blue with the black circle around it is pending. And then, the lighter blue it's been closed for a while now. Dark blue is recently closed. Okay. Now it shows you which one it used inside of the RVM. So remember, RVM gave us that $520,000 price range. It's showing us, well, which ones did the RVM come up with? Now, if I wanted to, let's say I want to draw a shape or use a custom area, let's say a polygon. I just want to use the data all just in this little pocket here for supporting my list price. Okay, I'm going to say search in this area, and now it's going to pull everything up in here. Okay, in this one only. Now, for the sake of time, I'm just going to click on just random comps here. Let's click on a few. Actually, let's remove all the other ones here from previous. Oops, right up here. Remove all comps. Okay, there you go. So now you have a more accurate idea. Now, obviously, an appraiser is going to be justifying comps based on what? What is recently closed first, of course. What was recently closed first, and then pending, and then it may take a look at active, but recently closed is going to be heavily weighted. So let's just go ahead and click on these. And we'll do a couple of, let's do this pending one and active one or two. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to click on update valuation and close. It's going to give us the average, which we still have the ability to tweak. All right. So now average of comps is 579. I could go in and manually edit. The other cool thing is I'm able to adjust the comps themselves in relation to the subject property. So I'm going to click on adjust comps now, and it's going to show me, okay, well, which ones do you want to adjust? And you can also reorder how they're going to be viewed. So let's say this property here, I'm just choosing at random, I don't really know. Let's say this property here is the closest to my potential listing. Okay, then I want to have this be in the first position. But let's say mine is much better. How does this property compare to the subject? Mine is much better, which would make this one worse, right? Worse. So now it's adjusting my property, or vice versa. Let's say, no, they've upgraded everything. This property is way better than my listing. Okay, you go ahead and do a sliding scale here. So I could reorder the comps. I could say this one's a little bit worse. This one's a little bit better, right? So on and so forth. I can make my notes because your notes are going to be shown on the reports themselves. It gives you the further justification if you need to explain to your client. If they're reviewing it later on, you can say, here's why I'm saying their listing was better or this property was in better condition because, again, they did this upgrade, that upgrade, new roof, new HVAC, new seal driveway. You have original HVAC, original roof, cracked driveway, so on and so forth, right? You can make those notes and those adjustments all right here and click on include in your reports there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click on update valuation and close. And now it's going to make that adjustments based on what I've had. So the average of the comps is 579. The adjustments we did came out to the 18, minus 18,000 on that sliding scale that we did. And result of comps. Now, again, I could still click on edit and type my own thing in here. I could say, well, you know what? I'm actually going to recommend the price be whatever it is, 550. Okay. So it's still showing me my average, my adjustments, my recommended is here, and you can also do a range. I'm going to click on create report. By default, it's going to pull up the seller's report. Okay. You cannot create a valuation workbook until you do the other type of CMA, which we're going to see here in just a minute. But it's going to allow us to create our seller's report. The seller's report is the CMA from just the comparisons. I'm going to hit run report. Takes about a couple of minutes. You'll get a notification when it's done. So let's say I wanted to have this report, but I also wanted to start creating the other version of the CMA. I come back up here. It gives me that my flow here. Click on the property itself. Click on CMA. And now I could switch to the other type of CMA that I want to build. So once it loads, I can now click on sales comparison analysis. I'm not an appraiser. I don't have a license number. The cool thing is you don't have to start from scratch here. You have the ability to import all the things that you've already done. Okay. So if I want to click on number of comps, it already has the comps that we pulled in from our previous reports. So you don't have to recreate the wheel here at all. The difference, though, is my adjustments. The first type of CMA, my adjustment was like a sliding scale, worse or better compared to the subject property. And that's the only adjustment I could have. Here, I could actually start making, now it gave me notification the report is done. Here, I could actually start making individualized adjustments, like an actual dollar amount, right? So let's say, yeah, but we don't realize that this one had, $15,000 in concessions. That's going to affect a little bit, right? Basement, it's finished versus not finished. Everybody else's is finished except for yours. Quality of construction, most of these tract homes are all the same. View factors, style, functional utility. That happens sometimes, especially with lot size. You could have a property that's 10 acres. It's kind of functionally useless compared to a property that's maybe only 5 acres, but trees cleared, it's already graded, right? So there's going to be more value in that. So how is its utility in comparison to the comps? Now, again, if you're dealing with typical tract homes, not going to be that much of a difference, but in pricing some unique properties, or any of you in the luxury market, or again, more of a rural area, larger plots of lands, building this type of CMA is definitely more extensive and helps you and support your justification to an appraiser or to a prospective buyer if you're representing the seller side. Okay. Energy efficient items, roofing features, fireplaces, construction features, so on and so forth. Okay. And you could add your own individual ones. The other thing I really liked about this type of report is the other one I was able to say, okay, this one first, this one second. Here, I could change their weightedness. So it's going to keep them all equal. But if I want this one, like this one's really close to mine, right? I could adjust how much emphasis I am putting on this specific property, okay, versus this one. Now it's all got to equal 100%, right? Again, this last time he pulled this was 3 years ago or so, probably. That's why they're all outdated and down compared to the other CMA. But the concept still applies, right? So if I wanted this one to be really 15%, okay, now I could drop this down to, let's see, this one down to 6. Oops. There you go. This one's going to be more value, adding more of a comp weighting because it's the closest in similarity to my actual subject property. And that's where you start to take a look at with all these different features and factors. All right. I know we're going through it pretty quickly. Like I told you, an hour is not a lot of time to learn everything there's to learn about RPR, but I want to give you at least a high level overview to kind of spark that curiosity to start digging through some of these things. But any questions on the 2 different types of CMAs you're able to build, feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself, or obviously post inside of the chats. If no questions, we'll keep on moving forward, and you can always ask questions a little bit later as well. I just want to make sure we're on the same page of how to differentiate between the different types of CMAs you're able to build. Again, 98% of the time, you're going to be living right up here, your typical analysis. If I need to contest a low appraiser, or I want to have a unique property that's going to be a little bit hard, maybe it's in a custom area, and I want to get those details, right? Then we'll go ahead and put the sales comparison right over here. Okay. All right. While we were doing this, we got a notification that the report is done. When I click on the reports, click on seller's report, it's letting me know that my seller report is done. And here it is. If I click on it, it's going to go ahead and open it up. And this is what by default it looks like. Okay. Current estimated value, my refined value, my comp analysis. And you could have as much data or as little data as you want. It's if you want to show them your kind of work, how you got to that number. If you want to show them the market itself, but then also so if I scroll down, we're going to start seeing the comps. Okay. So they can see kind of apples to apples. What are we doing here with the comparable properties? It's all in the seller's report. Now, a common question that I get is like, well, what if I don't want to give my client that much information? That's absolutely fine, right? Let's scroll up. When I click on seller's report, right next to that, there's customization. I could select what pages to leave in or leave out. All right, so if I want to go overboard in all the possible data, I can remove some of these things and just leave some of the detail information only. Or if you have a client who wants to know everything, I had this turned off because I was doing an example before, but if I want to include my name, my license number, my photo, logo, website, all that information, I click right here. And then you could also upload your own custom pages as well. This is great if you're going to use one of these reports for listing presentations or a buyer presentation. If you want to show a prospective buyer what an offer or property report looks like, and you want to have your own presentation to be added as part of this, you could upload your own pages. Okay. Now you have to upload them individually because they're going to be added into where you want to put them here. But you go ahead and add any of your pages that you want, which is nice. Okay. Now, most of the time you are starting your reports directly from the map or the property itself, right? So if I wanted to do a school report, I can select a school that I'm looking for, generate a report. If I'm looking for a market report, neighborhood report, all that's going to come from the map. Okay. Property flyer is really used exclusively for, an active listing. If you're going to just promote a property flyer, generic property flyer, you could do that. Versus a property report, which is going to give just high level details and then some of the local marketing condition. Okay. All right, let's go back home here and hit allow. All right, as far as the foreclosure question we asked a little bit earlier, let me go ahead and remove. Let's go to map search. I'm going to remove boundary. And let's say I wanted to draw a custom area. I'm going to do a polygon, and I just want to see everything that is, maybe this is not going to be extensive enough to get some foreclosures or distress, but let's just see. Okay, I'm going to hit search in this area, but there's nothing to search because I haven't selected. I'm going to go up here. You're going to click on public records. My property type. I'm going to click on more filters. And if I scroll down, I'll be able to see distress status. Okay. So if I want to see pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, and if I want to know specifically the dates, I can select that way as well. Okay. Now, for auctions, those of you who live in our ARMLS members, Monsoon has a really cool tool to be able to search easily as well. But that's going to be my way to generate a list if I want to have a specific timeline. Okay, and there we go. Now I have these properties right here that I go ahead and get mailing labels for if I wanted to, or click on them individually to see what's going on. Okay, and what status they are. Foreclosure. Looks like they're all foreclosure. Hit food details. Notice a trustee sale. There you go. I mean, look at that
Thank you, Jimmy.
RVM. Yep, of course. It's a great extensive RVM, which is pretty nice. Okay. All right. One other thing that, and if we scroll down, we should get the, when the notice of trustee was. There we go. It's right there. If I go back home, I can toggle between residential and commercial, and they're the exact same thing for commercial. Now, commercial is not as extensive as RPR. RPR is starting to build more commercial type data, but as a residential agent, if you're starting to get into a little bit of commercial, you can still pull a lot of resources with the commercial tab, and it's literally just a switch of a toggle right up there between residential and commercial. Okay. So I'm going to click refresh the page, and switch back just like that. Now, something that I encourage you to do is start creating reports of any of the specific areas you work or the farms. So if I want to, let's go ahead and do a zip code, click on the zip code. Okay. 85297, just clicking on it randomly. Once I select, what kind of report do I want? Do I want trends? Do I want a neighborhood report, market city report? I'm going to click on view market trends. Okay. And it's going to give me all of this data. Here's what's cool. They have now this create a script functionality, which is going to help me. It's one thing, actually, let me close this. It's one thing for me to stare at this data and say, okay, what does this even mean? It's another for me to understand what it means. And it's even another thing to understand what it means and then be able to teach it or explain it to someone who is not in the industry, right? Just an average consumer. If you tell them, hey, in 85297, did you know that the median dollar per square foot, maybe they'll understand that, but okay, what does that mean in relation to what, right? How many days in RPR, how many number of properties? So it's cool that RPR is starting to get a little bit of the AI bandwagon going. You know, telling us we are still in a seller's market. Even though list to sold price is at 97, meaning things are closing at what, 2.7% lower than what they listed at? Median sold price is $702,000, which actually blows my mind because I know that's a code. That's wild. But I want to show you something that's really cool. Create the script. What kind of script are you doing? I want the tone to be engaging. I want it to be going to buyers specifically, or let's say I'm doing specifically sellers, because remember, this is the year to get some listings, sellers. And I want to create a video script for me to just be able to go. Okay. I'm going to click on create. And now it's going to give us the AI functionality to build this script. Takes a little bit of time. But folks, with as many tools are at our disposal, there is zero reason why you shouldn't be able to create, if you have bomb or just do a video. Don't worry about this cut to the graph, this, even if you want to read, okay? Hey, everybody, Jimmy Garcia here. It's your friendly neighborhood realtor, right? Grab a seat because we got some exciting news to discuss today over the last 12 months. Again, you could copy the script. You could have the script be rewritten. If I want to change this to a social campaign for any of my social media things, if I want to change the tone or the audience, if I want to just analyze the metrics so I have a better understanding of it. All of that is kind of built in with any of these reports. So it includes the emojis, it includes hashtags. All these things are ready to go. All right. So again, there's no excuse anymore to be able to do any kind of market updates, video updates for any of your clients, especially on social media. But I encourage you, direct personalized touches, and nothing beats videos and be able to do that. If I want to text a 30-second video to a respective seller who may casually have mentioned they're thinking about selling their house, very easy way to generate the content there off of that. All right. Perfect. And then one more time, how did we get here? Again, I kind of live and die by my map. Every time I'm on the map, a map search, and you can do geographies, anything that you want. Let's say just zip codes for general here. And also, don't forget, you could still do the custom map as well. So if I wanted to freehand and say just this little part of Power Ranch, that's where I want all this data to come. Great. Search in this area, same exact thing. Build a report off this area, same exact thing. Okay. Awesome. All right, folks, we're bumped up just right about the last 5 minutes or so. Any specific questions or any feature of RPR that you may have heard of that you want to take a look into before we move forward?
Jimmy, Armand here again. Can you quickly go over that foreclosure one more time really quick, please? That was a little fast for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
So
you.
again, starting with the map search, let's just go to a map. And here, I'll just do it for an entire zip code. I'm going to click on geographies, zip codes. And let's say I click right here. Okay. I'm going to click on search on the area, or I could click multiple zip codes. Okay. So I want all these 3 zip codes right here. I'm going to click search on this area. And then right up here is where I'm going to toggle, what am I searching for? Okay, so right here, I'm going to deselect everything. I'm going to go to public records. I don't care when it's sold within or without. but I do want to take a look at the filters. So once I'm on public records, when I click on the filters, scroll down, and you'll see the distress status, pre-foreclosure, foreclosure.
Got it. Thank you.
Perfect. And I can also choose the dates, right, of when that happens. Once I click on update search, there we go. We're going to be able to see that all right there.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Oops, put the wrong button there. Awesome. Any other questions?
It's the time to ask, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool deal.
And I have no
Really
questions.
good.
Again, I highly encourage you when you log into RPR, just stay up to date. Even myself, I'm not going to say I'm the world-class expert RPR. I do use a lot of RPR. Anytime RPR pushes out a new webinar, I jump on it. They're always changing things. They're always updating things. So always go to the learn and see what the latest video is. It's worth sharpening your skills and having, that kind of mindset to learn this system, because it is including our dues. We're paying for it. Might as well learn how to use it and use it to the best of their ability. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jimmy. We really appreciate you and your knowledge today and helping us learn more and understand this platform. There's so much value within it that we can leverage into our business. So take what he taught us today, guys. Go try it out, leverage it, and dive into a little bit better. Again, just like you said, it's something that's already included in what we get from NAR. So thank you again, Jimmy. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. This was recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel by tomorrow morning. So you can go there, and if you need to rewatch it, certainly do that. Share it with a friend. Otherwise, we will see you guys in the next training and in escrow very soon. So have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks,
Awesome.
Jimmy.
Yep, of course. Thanks for having me, guys. And actually, I'll
Thanks,
put
Jimmy.
my cell phone in the chat if anybody wants to shoot a text, any further clarifying questions. I know it happens to me when I take classes. I think of the question 10 minutes after the class is over. All right. So if there is a question that pops up, that is my cell phone. Feel free to reach out. And again, thanks, Justin. Thanks, Troy, for having us.
Of course.
Take care.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys. Have a great one.